and it's a sad day today, man. Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball Z and numerous other anime that are beloved by many, has passed away from a blood clot in his brain. And I want to break down a little bit about his journey, kind of what led to Dragon Ball Z, and just showing that his legacy isn't going to be left behind. So who is Akira Toriyama? Akira Toriyama is a Japanese manga writer, manga artist, and character designer for video games. He has been working and being an artist since 1978, but in manga, he's better known for creating one of the biggest known animes of all time, Dragon Ball Z. That really started around 1984 until the 1995 series, which is adapted into 4 animated series: Dragon Ball from 86 to 89, Dragon Ball Z from 89 to 96, Dragon Ball GT from 1996 to 1997, and Dragon Ball Super, which is 2015 to 2018. So Toriyama honestly didn't just start off doing just anime. He had a strong understanding of video game design as well, as he was known for co-creating the long-running series Dragon Quest. He also continued to work in some of the most well-known games, and Toriyama's works are credited with boosting the popularity of not only animation but Japanese animation in the Western world. Now, Toriyama was named as Chevalier or Knight of the Order des Arts et Lettres, which is Order of the Arts and Letters by France. It is a French order of merit awarded to the highest of writers and artists. Now, Toriyama has one of the biggest and well-known anime of all time, but many don't know that he actually didn't intend to create DBZ like you think. It seemed like this all started from a feature on Dragon Ball Z in James Thompson's House of a Thousand manga. Now, this piece painted a very different picture of Dragon Ball and its creator, Akira Toriyama. Now, Dragon Ball is certainly one of the most successful anime of all time. Nearly every popular action series made in Japan since the 90s has some influence or impact over it. But Toriyama's true forte wasn't just action, but a lot of comedy. And that was when his first comedy came out, Dr. Slump. Now, he had just wanted the $100,000 yen prize. He said, to be honest, I really just wanted the money. I had quit my job as a designer and was looking for something to do. And while reading comics in a coffee shop, he came across a magazine offering 500,000 yen prize to new artists. Now, Toriyama worked hard to put something together, but missed the deadline. His last resort was a new monthly competition in Weekly Shonen Jump. That was 100,000 yen. Now, that was much harder to live on than 500,000, but you already know, the broke artist story is not a facade. So sooner or later, his art was seen by Shonen Jump, and they thought that they were similar to Torishima. It was a much more familiar with a lot of action films and Hollywood movies than he was with manga. Yet Toriyama speaks very proudly and happily about a lot of comic artists such as Keiko Takayama and Mitsuri Adachi, but confesses that Shonen Jump at the time did do much for him. And while he saw a glimmer of talent in the submissions, he still was rejected over and over and over again. And it took years for his first hit, Dr. Slump in 1980s, to really get some impact. Now, many people didn't know that was one of the real things that defined him, but what about something else that's well known that, describes his character or describes his impact? Well, let's talk about Super Saiyans. So many people don't know that the Super Saiyan color of the blonde hair was a complete accident. It was honestly because inking with his hair was such a pain, and the lack of screen tone and cutting and applying them is a genuine pain, said Toriyama. Meaning that one of the biggest things and biggest impacts that we know of him was a complete accident and out of laziness. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with that, because honestly, it showed that quote-unquote laziness was what the fans wanted more overall anyway. So going further with that, his lack of formal comics training made him perfect fit for an editor magazine like Shonen Jump. It meant that he had the creativity and the focus to make his own style and define his own legacy. Now, Toriyama's peer, Takehiko Inoue, said that he had a team of 4 assistants while working on his basketball series Slam Dunk. Now, by comparison, Toriyama has only ever had one at a time and drew the initial stages of Dr. Slump all by himself. So Toriyama may call himself a lazy artist all he likes, but every one of his shortcuts was necessary because there was no other way to meet deadlines with the amount of work on his plate. Even Inoue, a legendary artist in his own right, reveres Toriyama's work. So while Dragon Ball Z was a series that really took it to superstar status, Dr. Slump was actually his first creation that really got them on that path. And when people look into it, it's crazy because this was in a way Japan's version of Superman and their own unique telling of it. Now, editors of Shonen Jump figured that he could create something even more popular than Slump, And Torishima notes in an interview that Toriyama had great spatial awareness, superior to fellow artists in his own field. So if he could shift gears from gags to action, Torishima thought that they might really have something. And Toriyama responded with Dragon Ball, which swapped the little robot girl Arale for a little monkey boy named Goku. In the early volume of the series, combined Dr. Slump style goofs with Jackie Chan action chops. And as many would say, the story goes on from there. So as many people know, these stories were really where it started, and it seems like Toriyama, even though it was earlier parts in his career, he still wanted to keep those aspects in his more recent areas and kind of still bend and blend those type of things together. So many people really talked about something with Dragon Ball Z, which was maybe its one flaw overall, which was power scaling and its consistent uptick over and over, from being city level to state level to literal country level to earth level to solar system level to then galaxy, then universe level. It's had a good 20 to 30 years of consistent uptick with power scaling. And while the anime adaptation is even more bloated, a consequence of its airing during that comic serialization, one thing that really affects big anime like Dragon Ball Z and One Piece is this need for it to come out so consistently that they have to force something out to kind of keep up with the demand. Now, most Shonen Jump artists today take lessons from Dragon Ball instead of Dr. Slump. Only One Piece does justice to Toriyama's absurd sense of humor, and that's a fact. And One Piece is far more disciplined work than Dragon Ball was at the time. The young, anything goes Toriyama had been thoroughly displaced in Japan and abroad by Toriyama the commercial artist. But then, it is rumored that the Dr. Slump anime is what paved the way for the success of Shonen Jump comics on television. Goku and his friends might never have hit the big time without impacts like that in that little robot girl. But a young Toriyama living with his family in the South countryside, drawing comics non-stop, just to afford groceries, might have just made the impacts that define him as not only a legend, but one of the most talented and most impactful content creators of all time. Not only is he an artist, not only is he a genuine master of his craft, but he's done something that many people will probably never do, which is inspire people even in the smallest level, to give a lot of these young and older people hope, creativity, letting them feel his story and his world through their views and lens. And looking back at it, Toriyama was one of the strongest and most well-known in his field for doing not only spatial awareness, but for having the talent and the skills to write a long-term story overall, especially overarching years and years and decades. So again, it is sad that Toriyama died and passed away at 68 due to a blood clot. But we should look at this in a positive way and say that he's lived not only a full life, but now he's been able to not only establish himself, but make sure his family is sitting good and eating comfortable for the rest of their lives. Toriyama may not be everyone's GOAT. Dragon Ball Z may not be every single person's favorite anime, but it was most people's first. It inspired Naruto, One Piece. It inspired things that you wouldn't even think of. Deadman Wonderland, Full Metal Alchemist. It's inspired some of the more recent works as well. It just shows you that impact is not in a box. The impact someone can do can go beyond just genres and anime and even medium and media as a whole. We have to understand that not only did Akira Toriyama draw his passion, but he worked meticulously every day. Didn't eat, didn't have a partner, didn't have a girlfriend, worked day in and day out for years before he was established and made things shake the way he needed to. And honestly, that's something that we have to not only respect, but appreciate when someone has that much dedication to their craft. Akira Toriyama, I hope you rest in peace, man. You did it. You really did it, man. Dragon Ball Z is goated, and your impact in the world will forever be goated as well. ClowdyWorld, and let me know what y'all are thinking, man. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know how y'all feel about Akira Toriyama passing, and let me know what your impacts are, your passion are with Dragon Ball Z, one of my favorite anime growing up of all time. Like, comment, subscribe. ClowdyWorld, are we gone?